Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined. Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined.
All right, peace and blessings, family. Welcome to Sunday Sitting with Sisters. We got this new intro, so I'm still working it out. But I'm feeling really good to be back with y'all this Sunday. I know I've been traveling the last couple of weeks, and now I am back up in the building. And of course, I'm back up in the building with a special guest, and I'm very excited to be talking to this sister today. This sister is it Abena?
Abena.
Abena. I know that's Ghanaian, correct?
Yes.
What day is that?
Tuesday.
I wasn't sure. I just knew it was one day. Sister, thank you so much for joining us today on Sunday Sitting with Sisters. I'm really excited because we're going to be talking about some womb wellness. Your website is incredible. Let me just say that. I looked all through your website. I loved it. I loved all the information that you have. And I think right now we're in a time where womb wellness is something that we really need to be talking more about. And I love it's just not the thing about giving birth, but even in your book, which we're going to go over a little bit. Let me tell people who you are real quick, at least from the bio from the back of your book. So this is the book, family. You got to go get it. You got to go get her book. So Sister Abena, I keep trying to say Abena. Say it again.
Abena.
Okay, Londa. Sister Abena Adu is a certified doula, yoni steam practitioner, assistant midwife, and doula trainer. But you're also an assistant midwife, correct?
Yes.
Right on. She began studying womb wellness in 2008 and has created this series. Now, the series is this book here of the Dark Womb Redemption, which is so awesome. To educate and empower women. Each book is an essay. Is an easy read, and can benefit women of all ages, mental and physical, and benefit women of all ages, mentally, physically, and spiritually. I'm really excited. I really enjoyed your book. And because I work with a lot of girls, I shared your book with them. So they really liked it. And I like it because it was a good read, but it wasn't really heavy, and it just hit it right away. My question to you is, how did you get started in just the womb wellness? How did you get started in that? What was your calling to that?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. It was actually during my first pregnancy in 2008. I was just obsessed with pregnancy. So I started to research a lot because it was just amazing to me. I was never the mommy type, or, I was just never that type of maternal person before I got pregnant. So once I got pregnant, after I had my baby, I just the other young women in my community started to tell me that they got C-sections and I had a vaginal birth, and they were like, well, you're smaller than me. Like, how did you have a vaginal birth? And, you know, I had to get a C-section. So I started to like hear just the stories of other women, and I didn't have any problems breastfeeding, even though I didn't have any support. And so I started to just help women in our local community in Atlanta at that time with breastfeeding, postpartum care, and then eventually went on to childbirth. And so people started to tell me that I was a doula, and I really didn't know what that word meant, but I just like love being with women, you know, during childbirth. So I went on, I started to do that. I stopped a little bit and then I got back into it. But after I got my official certification in 2013, I was thinking that I was going to have a lot of women to come to me to tell me, can you help me in the hospital with my baby or just deliver with baby, to help them, to assist them during their delivery. But instead, I got, I mean, just numerous people coming to tell me that they were bleeding, they couldn't stop bleeding, they had fibroids. Then I even learned about PCOS. I didn't even know what PCOS was.
Mhm.
So then I got certified to do the yoni steam. So, and then I started to just learn that more women were dealing with infertility who were in their 20s. So
Mhm.
that's basically how I got into womb wellness.
Right on. So let's back up for just a minute because I know you touched on a lot of this stuff. Y'all got to go get the book. I got mine off of Amazon, but you can go straight to our website and get it as well. You touched on some things when we think about womb wellness, and particularly during this time period that we're in now. It seemed like there is a concerted effort to kind of erase the womb from women, which is what make you a woman, is your womb. You know what I mean? How important is the womb? I mean, I call them sacred portals, but like how important is your womb? Like if things are not right in your womb, how would that impact your life or society or the planet?
Yeah, so being a woman is extremely powerful. Like even with, like I say that it's all a miracle from your menstrual cycle is another miracle all the way up until what is called menopause, the Crohn stage. It is it's very mystical. That's why they were it was said that the woman, you know, was considered to be like, you know, evil. They were afraid of women when they were bleeding, giving birth, breastfeeding. Even scientists don't even know all the benefits of actually breastfeeding. Another thing that I did not mention is that a lot of women were telling me that they were getting hysterectomies. And so they would say, oh, I wish I met you before I got my hysterectomy. So the womb is in the center of the body. Like you said, it is a portal. And even if you choose not to have children or you don't have children, it's still an organ that you were born with that is important. So, you know, all of our organs are important. And I know some women feel like, oh, I'm finished having children, or I'm not going to have children, so I can go ahead and get a hysterectomy. But most of the time I've had women to regret that. And there's so many physical side effects from you getting that organ removed that there's even like a sense of like a loss of well-being and depression and things like that. So that's the importance is of the womb is like being the essence of a woman. I mean, being a woman is a great thing.
Right on, right on. So with that being said, what prompted you to write the series, like with your book here? What, because you touch on a lot of issues that happen to women that can impact your womb and the bringing of life. What made you put it into a series and into these books?
Well, when I started to like talk to women or whatever, when I'm out vending, selling my products, and they will tell me all of their stories. I mean, once you tell somebody what you do, you're going to hear their birth story. You're going to hear what's going on with their womb. They're going to tell you that. So I started to do these womb wellness workshops, and I was just telling them regular things that I thought everybody knew, like how to clean yourself and, how to take care of yourself on your cycle. And so many women just did not know these things. So I said, I'm printing off all of these paper every single time. The way that I can get the message out, in a greater volume is to actually print a book. And actually, my business coach told me that I should write a book. I also publicly came out with my child sexual abuse molestation story, and on social media, and that just put me in a whole nother state. And I also wanted to share that story so that it's going to be written down in history, because I feel like I never got justice from that situation. And I just grew up with a lot of childhood trauma, and it was just surprising for a lot of people to be surprised of like how I turned out to be, because statistically I'm not where I am supposed to be. So I just wanted to share my story. And then after that, I was told to write another book on childbirth. So then that's where the Dark Womb Redemption 2 comes in, because I want to get more in depth on pregnancy, childbirth, and postpartum. So that's where the second book. And then, there's a workbook and also a journal.
Now, sis, I'm gonna back up a minute. So, where did you grow up at? What's your background?
I grew up in Dallas, Texas. When I turned 19, I moved to Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
Because I wanted to get away from the trauma.
Okay.
But all I did was actually run into myself.
Right. Oh, I like that. So, what do you mean when you say you ran into yourself?
I was really trying to block out everything that I had gone through, because of when it actually was known that, there was a child predator, a family friend who my mom is even still friends with, and we still had to be around that person. And I just kind of felt like I just hated it. I hated just the hypocrisy in the church. When I started to grow my hair natural, I was basically kind of outed, told that I shouldn't, worry about what color Jesus is. And just, it was just like, I felt like I just wanted something more, and Dallas just did not have it for me. So I just looked on the map and transferred with the job that I was with. That was one of the locations where my pay decreased a little bit. So I just wanted to just get away and just get away from all the trauma and the dysfunction. So I went there, and it started to just play out, in my younger 20s. And every time I got a bad thought, I just wanted to, exit out of my mind. But around 26, everything just started to come back open. And then when I moved back to Dallas in 2011, that's when I started to really see the dysfunction in my family, because it was actually worse than what I thought, or maybe I just didn't want to see how bad it really was. So I had to start to confront some things, and got professional therapy, and therapy really, really helped me. It helped me so much. You have to have the right person though, but I got the right person to like help me to cope.
Right on. Right on. So you say dysfunction. What kind of dysfunction was your family having? Because what I find is that some people live in dysfunction, but they think is culture and that is normal.
Yeah. Like growing up, I never saw like a good marriage, even though my mother was married to my father. My siblings, we all have the same father, which everybody thought, oh, you don't have a stepdaddy or stepmother, because everybody, other people didn't have their father in the home and stuff like that. But my father was a minister. We grew up in a very strict Pentecostal church. We had to go to church all the time, but I didn't see love between them. There was domestic abuse, drug abuse, and everything was pretty much tolerated by my mother and all the women, all the women in the family. It was nothing was shunned. Pedophiles could freely come around. Um, People who abuse their wives could freely come around. That was most of the dysfunction that I saw. Not any acceptance. A lot of verbal abuse. Talked about skin color and just all that type of stuff. Never really getting the love that you're supposed to get from your, like, my mother never told me that I was pretty. Um, just just the things that I just didn't know. Like when I would be around other families in Atlanta, I'm like, oh, y'all don't sit up and ridicule everybody and criticize each other, because that's what was done in family gatherings in my family. It was like somebody's got to gossip. Not to say that
I
your
understand.
families are perfect, but it was deeply toxic and negative.
Right on. So when did you said you moved to Atlanta? When did you have that aha moment that you began to understand that that was dysfunction? Was it
Well, I
before?
always knew it was
Now?
dysfunction. I
Okay.
always knew it was dysfunction growing up. I would even like tell them this is a dysfunctional family, but I didn't know really how deep it was, because there was so many things that I looked over. Like I wrote in the book, the different things, how, you know, like the pastor would kiss the back of my hand, you know,
Mm.
and say, you sure do got some pretty girls, and just some inappropriate things that I would see, like a teenager sitting kind of sexually in her uncle's lap. But I guess it just happened over a period of time, but it just started with the sexual abuse, being on a date. And this guy said, every girl that I go on a date with has been molested. And I was like, well, I ain't never been molested. And then on the drive home, it just, all the memories and stuff just came back to me on what the predator had done to me. So I still try to, like, kind of, oh, I don't want to think about that. And so I don't know what year it was. Maybe around, I don't even know what year it was, but sometime in the 2000s.
Wow. Wow, that's interesting that you said that and that y'all had that kind of conversation, that he brought that up, which sometimes you don't even think about things like that until somebody, sometimes you don't know that men have those kind of discussions, or that, that he even picked up on that. How do you think that impacts the womb?
That, along with abandonment issues, everything that happens to you, can affect your womb. So that's where we're getting into, like all the other issues, that the unexplained issues that women have, like fibroids and stuff, where they try to say that there's no cause. If you look up these things, they'll say no cause. I think it's just like illness, if you don't deal with something, it has to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So with hurt, and we keep things in so much, because we as women, we're becoming hard. Like we've become like this strong, the strong Black woman, independent, don't need a man. We don't want to be soft and sensitive and cry and things like that. So it's just emotional trauma, like holding on to feelings that you haven't faced or dealt with.
Right on. So what kind of self-care could we start to do in our lives? Like I noticed in your book, you have these God, I have my little notes over here, but you have this section in your book, you talk about like these steps, the road to redemption, and you have these like 7 steps, or how many steps there were, but you talk about it something like self-care and self-respect and forgiveness and breaking cycles. So you have 5 steps, but how did you come up with those 5 steps?
It was I just wanted to make it simple. I just, of course I've added and eliminated and changed some things since then, but I wanted to just make it kind of simple, because after, I came out on social media about my child molestation story, I mean, I got numerous messages of people saying that this happened to me and I have never told anybody. Even men saying you're the only one who knows. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is such, it's a bigger problem than what we think. So I want to just kind of keep it simple. So one of the things and what I noticed is that even though people told me that, they will never, I'm telling you, they will never talk about it. They were like, look, I'm telling you this, but I'm not facing it. I'm not dealing with it at all. So getting therapy, especially for rape victims, there is a lot of nonprofit organizations who offer therapy at no cost. And like you have to get, like I said, the right person. But what I had noticed that even a few people that I saw is that they were kind of telling me like, yo, this is not right. And I never really had anybody to tell me, you're not, well, they don't use the word crazy, but it's not that anything is wrong with you. Like they have this generational thing. So so talking to someone professionally, I feel like help, because they're not judgmental, and they can it's confidential, so you don't have to worry about them telling your business. So that's important. Forgiving yourself, because I was like, oh, even though, as you know in the book, like, I'm screaming, when he's on top of me, his wife is just in the bathroom in the same room, and she tries to say she didn't hear me, which there's no way you could not hear me. That was my way of telling. But then I was like, well, maybe I should have set them down and said this. So the guilt of trying to block it out, of not, acting a certain way. You have to forgive yourself.
Right on.
And know that it's not your fault. You didn't ask around about it. You wasn't wearing clothes. And even if you was, there's no invitation for somebody to come and violate you sexually. But there was nothing. So that's something that you can, do as far as like, coping with a situation. Because one thing that a lot of people kept saying was, you need to just get over it. You need to just get over it. Forgive. But to me, I remember one of the therapists telling me, forgiveness does not mean that the person gets away with what they've done.
Right on.
And it's like, the scar is still there, but you're not bleeding anymore. So the whole word of forgiveness and healing, it, like she said, it's a tricky word, or, I have a different definition. So people feel like when you forgive somebody, you can go and just sit down and have lunch with them. It's not the same situation. People need to be held accountable for that. And sexual predators, we have to deal with this trauma of what they've caused forever. And some people can never have a functional relationship, not only with a loved one, but with just regular people, because there's a trust loss. So I hope
No, sis, you know what? You're making so much sense. As you were talking, I was thinking to myself, when you talked about that word forgiveness, I don't know how much of that has to do with religion and guilt at the same time, because people do some things and be like, well, Jesus forgave me, it's all good. And it's like, that really ain't got nothing to do with what's happening on this earthly plane. You understand what I'm saying? And so yes. I felt like, and then we do this thing where we make the victim somehow feel sorry for the victimizer. Yeah. Like, and I think that's the stupidest thing ever. Like, that's like a child being responsible for their parent. Like, it's like, wait a minute, you brought them here. Like, what? So, no, what you're saying makes a lot of sense. That's why your book is such an awesome book, because you hit on a lot of stuff. I mean, you talk about Fireboard, you talk about the impact of sexual abuse, but you also talk about those steps, like of how do you work on yourself. You said something key. You said something about learning to forgive yourself and not put all the blame on the victim. But we tend to do that, and particularly to women. We do a lot of dumping on women. And when I say dumping, like we put all our stuff on them, which I think those things go to your womb. because your wound carries all the memories. Like that's why it's so sacred in a sense, because it has the ability to transform some stuff. You know, you'll see us out here doing some really crazy stuff, but we're really working through some really horrible energy because it feel like we're walking through it all the time. And sometimes, most of the time, you're walking through it through your home. We're not even talking about the outside world yet. You know, so you talked about when you were growing up, the things you were experiencing in your house, not knowing what a functional relationship looked like can definitely impact every step in every relationship you're in. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So what you're saying makes a lot of sense. When what made you, and being a doula, what's the difference between a holistic doula and just a doula? Because we have, you know, everybody, their mama a doula sometimes where I'm at.
Yes, exactly. It's actually become a lot of it's become so trending now
Yeah.
because of the celebrities, the reality shows, they're kind of talking about it. But when I say holistic, I mean that it's emotional, physical, spiritual. You're dealing with the whole person. You can't just go in there. You carrying your intuition, your whole womanhood, and you have to do your self healing before you can do that work, because you are standing in the they say like holding space, or you're standing in the gap. It's a real spiritual um career. It's a spiritual act because you are helping or assisting, um, witnessing a spirit who is not physical come into life.
Mm-hmm.
So birth is such a spiritual thing. So when I say holistic, it's like, even like when I say holistic womb wellness, if someone has a problem with infertility or polyps, PCOS, whatever type of womb issue, it's not like, oh, just take this herb. There's a lot of other things that you have to do, like face the trauma. So uh,
Mm.
when I was doing the actual yoni steams in my place of business, and I would do a consultation before and try to get into what's going on with people. It was one lady was like, oh, I ain't got no issues, and da da da, and I'm like, there's something going on if you have fibroids. And then when I used to do the womb wellness series, and I had all these different speakers on, and when I would ask them, what do you think the cause of fibroids and all this stuff is, they all said the same thing: it's emotional. So we always want to go onto the food, which food is important, but they
Mhm.
said it's emotional. And even one sister, Tracy Bryant Swint, who's in Atlanta, my Yoni Steam sister, she said that when a woman has, gotten fibroids, she asked them what happened in their life like 2 years or so before they've gotten the fibroids. And it's usually, it could be a death, it could be, maybe a loss, a miscarriage, something traumatic is most likely has happened to that person for, that to start to grow and manifest in
That's
their bodies.
that's real talk. That's real talk. So the yoni steam, what's the benefits of the yoni steam? Since we're talking about caring for this womb.
Yeah, even though that has become very trendy because of the media, the reality shows and celebrities and stuff, that is actually it I found the benefit of it. That's how I was able, that's another tool that I use to even get healing, because you have to look at, you're using all the elements, you're using the plant, you're using the heat, you're using metal, you're using water, you got the steam, you got air, you have all the elements, just like you use candles in spiritual work.
Mm-hmm.
That yoni steaming is very, very spiritual. And when I had my place, I had a lot of women who you wouldn't believe, who would boo-hoo cry. I mean, cry like a baby during their yoni steam. And just tell me how it released so many things, because it could be the first time that the woman has even addressed her wound. And we got to be thinking to go all the way back to when we were in the womb, and we've had traumatic experiences even being birthed. So it's so many different things that women will tell me. So I think the medicine is in the herb. They used to be like, what do you do? Whatever. I mean, of course, I cleanse the space and, you know, do my own thing to facilitate healing. And we speak affirmations, but it's about, I have women go on a cleanse, you know, to get ready for their time. Not like, I never took a person who wanted to do it on the same day. And so I would lose business because, you know, people like, oh, I want to try it. I want to try it. And I'm like, no, we have to do a consultation and you have to do these things before you even come and sit, you know, on this thing. So I say the power is really in the herbs. Just like when you drink tea, I'm a big believer in herbal tea. That's where we get, you know, prescription pills from. It's just that it's in its natural form. So the healing is in the herbs. The yoni semen is going to help cleanse out the congestion that's in there. So that's a good thing as far as helping women get pregnant. Sometimes it's only one yoni semen that they need. Sometimes they need several. I have been having people tell me they've been shrinking their fibroids from doing the yoni steam. It tightens up the vaginal walls, helps to tone it. And we got to understand this is our ancient medicine. This is something it's beyond the year 2000. You know, it's just coming about again, you know. So it helps with digestion, insomnia, depression, and on an emotional level, it helps to remove blockages. If you want to go into the sacral, the chakra system, and it's dealing with the root, the sacral. Let me see, constipation. I've heard even women say it helps to relieve back pain. It can shorten your cycle. Even during menopause, and even hysterectomies. I've had women who've had hysterectomies who still saw a benefit in it. So if you have vaginitis, BV, I mean, just about anything. It has even helped women who are overdue when they're pregnant.
Wow.
But of course, that's controversial. But yes, it can help get the placenta out after it's over. It's really beneficial for just any type of, and I would say vaginal, because we all have a vagina. Even though some people don't, you know, have a hysterectomy, they still can benefit from it if you have a vagina.
Wow. So while you are talking about some ancient practices, the doula, the steaming, what about the womb yoga?
Okay, right. And that's, of course, you can see that in the hieroglyphics. That's another ancient practice. We've always done some type of movement dealing with breath, and even yoga is a lot deeper than we think, even though it's trendy. Hey, let's go to this yoga class or whatever. But, you know, you have whole religions that are based, you know, in the yoga, but the movement, just moving, the yoga is going to help to tone your inner muscles, the muscles that just working out is not going to tap into. So you're moving and shifting things. So that can also help with women who have a tilted uterus. You know, it helps with breath work, blood flow, and it's also a meditation as you reflecting yourself. Is you getting into yourself. So that's just another method to get healing or to improve yourself.
Wow. So I'm seeing like a thread in terms of the yoga, the steaming, which is, even though it's trending, I really don't think a lot of people understand what that's really about. Because one thing in this culture, when we trend something, usually we take the meaning out of it. You know what I mean? Because I feel like all of these are great ancient practices, but because people don't go deep to study, it becomes useless. That's kind of like a tool that's been used against us, is to saturate you with what you have, and then it takes the meaning out of it. It's like taking like the sting out of it, if you will. It's like you'll have a good medicine, but then you can't really utilize it because you don't do the work that it takes to make the medicine effective. You know what I mean?
Right. Yes.
So with that being said, what other kind of methods could we be using to treat the trauma or to make well the wound?
Also, actually, um, like I said, confronting people.
Oh, the
You
confrontation.
know, yeah, that's healing. When
It
you
is.
actually confront somebody, you know, that's healing. Being out in nature, being by yourself, fasting, staying away from television, staying away from foods, going on a liquid fast, a very short dry fast, um, massaging. You know, when you get the right massage therapist, they can unblock some things. I've heard of therapists saying that, you know, people get on their table and they just, you know, let it out. Chiropractic care. I'm a believer in chiropractic care. Um, Getting into nature,
Oh, sorry about that.
getting into nature, actually, going to the beach, forest, whichever one that is going to that you're attracted to. So getting into nature, um, just being real with yourself, being real with yourself, listening to your insides, because whatever your spiritual practice is, spirit is always with you, because that's essentially what we are, spirit and flesh, and we're going to be on this earth for a certain time to do a certain work, but essentially we're spirits.
Right on.
Yes.
Right on. So in your chapter 3 of your self-care, you have a few things.
Okay.
You have acceptance, you got rest and sleep, which is major.
Okay.
I feel real good after I get a good night's sleep, for real. Eating, but even with the eating, it's like right now for the last, I'm going on like 3 months, plant-based diet. I feel incredible.
Mm-hmm.
My body feels really good. I think I'm past the point where I needed meat. You know what I mean? So I'm feeling much better. But I also know that was a process, and I didn't even realize how heavy meat and other things were on my body until I didn't have it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So eating, you got dress. So you say dress, what do you mean by that?
Okay, yeah. So I also, because and this book is for this particular one is for Black women, because um, the stereotype of Black women is always gyrating. Now, twerking is an ancient healing dance, but the way that we're coming out of the house, is the way that we dress is the way people are going to treat us and approach us, for the most part. Of course, when you start speaking, and that's different, but people are going to judge you regardless. They can say they don't judge people. They can say that all day, but people are going to judge you. It's like when you go to an interview, you're going to dress a certain way. If you're going to church, you're going to dress a certain way. If you're going, so the thing with the even with what Monique was saying with the bonnets and the wearing of the house shoes and the pajamas, it's a loss of respect. So that's one thing that I can say that I appreciate about the Pentecostal churches, that it's not like that now. They've totally conformed, but you have to dress a certain way, and then people will look at you and think of certain things. So, you shouldn't, well, just in my opinion, you should, be dressed appropriate for where you're going. So if you're not going to bed, you shouldn't go out in public looking like you are about to go get into bed, or you just got out of bed. Unless, of course, there's an emergency, you can't afford, that's different. But that's coming with self-respect.
It's interesting. So under dress, it says pantyhose may restrict the blood flow to your body.
Okay.
Pantyhose. Never
Okay.
thought about that. I didn't know about the high heels messing with your posture, because I can't even wear many high heels anymore. And a tilted uterus. What do you mean when you say, is there like a danger in having a tilted uterus, or just a little
There
different?
there's some women who can't get pregnant with a tilted uterus. It's just basically out of balance, and it's I've known women to say that, because I was a nail technician too, of like the models and stuff who wore heels, their feet, it was just like it was just stuck, like that. So that throws off your posture, and that throws off your balance. And there's also sometimes women who have a tilted uterus, they can't carry a baby to term, so they'll have miscarriages or babies that come early.
Okay. You got cleansing. So you talk a little bit in this particular area about vaginal odors. And what do you mean cleansing?
I'm telling you, there was women who they don't know to how to cleanse the vulva. They just don't know that, or they feel like they need to use all of these different chemicals and stuff on the inside, and even douching. And I know that our parents, we douche and stuff, and maybe it was what we use, but I'm not a fan of douching. That's where you can do the yoni steam instead. But there was this lady told me, a doctor said that women douching keeps him in business, because it creates so many imbalances and all these different problems. So yeah, just the cleansing, like even to know to wipe from front to back. There's just some women who don't know that. And like, my mother never told me how to cleanse. She never told me about my cycle, what to do on my cycle. Like,
right on.
Yeah, I had cramps, and she was like, oh, I went through it. But not trying to help me really try to figure out, why am I having cramps so bad to the point where I can't go to school? And what can I do to be able to function, during this time?
Right on. You have baths, and I'm a big supporter of baths. I love a bath. That could determine where hotel I'm staying in. This is the honest to God's truth, because I love a tub. So you have here that soaking in the tub is good for your vagina. It's very beneficial. And showers are great, but baths are better. This is interesting, because I've heard some young girls say they don't like taking baths, or they feel like the dirt be back on them. But I always remember standing up and showering after you got out of the tub. That's what I remember, that's what I do now. So, but you talked about some ingredients: sea salts, Epsom salts, herbs, 100% pure essential oil, castor oil, and olive oil. Then you also talked about some gemstones and crystals in your bath water.
Yeah. So if people, are a believer of crystals, you can put, because, there are different minerals left in the earth that we have to create different type of healing modalities. So water is extremely important, not only internal, but external. Your skin is the largest organ. So the water is going to penetrate your skin and get to you on a cellular level. And I knew that when I was going through a very dark time after I had came out with my story, and I got everybody that was like, why are you telling basically telling the family business, and you need to get over it and all this type of stuff. And I was like, wow, this rejection, I was really, really low. All I could do is soak in the tub. And that's what got me through. I was just crying so much. I couldn't eat. I was just depressed. I mean, I was just very low. But all I could do, I said, I know that this bath is going to give me some healing. So I would just soak in the tub, drop just a few drops of essential oils, pure essential oils, sea salt, don't even remember what else, and just sit in there. So yes, baths are extremely healing. You want to immerse your body, your vagina. I had an elder tell me, you gotta put that thing in some water, you gotta soak it, because it's gonna go up there and do what it needs to do, the same way the vaginal steam will.
Right on. You also said underwear. It's always best to wear cotton underwear. How is underwear important to the womb?
Well, you need some type of absorbent material down there. Of course, we got the sexy lingerie and all of that. That needs to be temporary. But I think that to me, underwear is for like outdoors, but inside, you should be free to let it breathe, to just not have it be so restricted. And then with the thongs and the tight panties and the tight underwear, it's just not good because it's keeping everything held up and making a moldy bacteria environment.
Right on. What about shaving?
Yeah, so I'm not I know a lot of people are getting like the Brazilians, and you don't have to be bushy. You can trim and everything, but the hair is there to protect, things from it's there to protect you, and as you can see, there's hair in your ear, you have eyelashes, you have hair in your nose, you have hair in certain areas for protection. So it's okay to trim, definitely, trim or whatever, but just being completely bald, people are getting the Brazilian wax. I feel like it opens you up more to get infections.
Right on. The last few things you talked about breathing, you talked about detoxing. We're going to go back to detoxing. You also talk about meditation and affirmation, which I'm a big supporter of. But this detoxing piece, why is detoxing so important? And how do you know you're actually detoxing?
Well, we naturally detox, every day. Our body is always eliminating things because we're living in a world where we have chemtrails, we have contaminated water. Detox is just a normal. It's just a normal process, and sometimes we gotta kind of give it a little more help. And even the elders, they say to every season to detox to help, to move things along to get those things that are not beneficial to our bodies out of our body.
Right on, right on.
Because if not, it's going to build up.
Right on. You talked a lot about herbal teas.
Mm-hmm.
So in that detoxing, what kind of herbal teas would be good to start that transformation of the detox? Something that you could drink every day that will help you on your detox.
Well, of course, people need to, check their medical history and check with their physician always. I like black walnut, wormwood to get the parasites out. That's very deep. I mean, if you're on medications and stuff like that and have illnesses, of course you do need to check with a physician. I'm not a physician. I'm not here to claim the cure or diagnose any illness. But for me, I noticed that if I feel sluggish, some things, some unexplained pains, all this type of stuff that's going on, I like to eliminate certain foods, certain heavy foods, and not only with the herbs, you to increase the water intake as well. But like black walnut, wormwood, those are the more heavier ones. But I'm pretty much just basically doing like something gentle, like red raspberry on the, as the uterine tonic. Ginger, it just depends. You can increase the amount. Yarrow, I think it's pronounced chaparral or chaparral or chaparral. That's another deep one. Really, the bitters.
The bitters. Okay.
Bitter herbs.
Y'all, if you join us, even though we got 10 more minutes to go, this sister's book, just her work period, her website, just is all there at the bottom going across. She's with the craftwoman.com. So you need to check this sister out. I'm going through her book a little bit. This is one of a series. So, but this is a guide for Black women around womb wellness. That's what caught my eye when I was on Amazon and I looked up books that said Black womb wellness, and your book came up like immediately. And I was like, I gotta get this book. Mm-hmm. So, sis, it's just so much. It's just so many things we could touch on. We haven't even gotten to the fibroids yet because I had fibroids at one time. So, And what I learned from my doctor is that Black women have more fibroids than any other group. And I had like 9. And so where does fibroids come from, and why do we as Black women have so many of them?
Well, just according to my research, I believe it has something to do, not just the trauma, because I mean, I think everybody faced trauma, and I'm not going to blame it on the diet, because it's a lot of other cultures that are not eating healthy around here. I'm going to have to say it has to do with our melanin, the way that we process estrogen, maybe, because that's the only thing that I can think of that would set us apart from it being mostly us. Trying to think of something that's totally different from other people, because they say estrogen has something to do with fibroids growing, and we know that that's in eggs, that's in a lot of things, and it could also be with us putting the chemicals on our hair so early during puberty and even before puberty.
Right on.
So that's what I think may be the issue, aside from the trauma.
So, sis, you also have something in this book that I really love. It's called The Ancient Feminine Practices. You talk about head wrapping, dressings, cloth pads, waist beads. I know that you do incredible waist beads. But you also talked about the yoni steam. You talk about massages, dancing, sisterhood, which is major. My life is sisterhood. Crying. I mean, everything, recipes, singing. But I want to go back to these waist beads, because that's something else that's trending. I find in this culture, people see other people's things and just start making it a trend. But what is the purpose of waist beads, and why do people wear them? I have about 10 pair on myself. I've been having them on for years. What's the purpose of waist beads?
Before we can go deep spiritual, but even if we just go into practical, it's used for waist shaping in Ghana and certain West African countries. They are placed on babies or young girls because they believe that they're going to shape their waist so that the blood will flow down and create, a round butt, which the butt is considered to be, a symbol of beauty, even now. And as vulgar as it has been depicted, it's a symbol of beauty. And so you want your shape, essentially, you want to have a small waist, or a waist that actually goes in and not be shaped. You know how there's some people that are shaped very boxy. Some other races are shaped kind of boxy. So that's one thing. They can be used as a healing mechanism. Just, you can do prayers and things like that to offer womb healing because of where it is. Beauty, another symbol of beauty. They did have an actual practical function too of holding up the menstrual pads in ancient times. So yeah, that's essentially what they're used for.
Right on. Sister Renita Harris has asked you a question. What do you feel about castor oil for helping with scars after a C-section?
I've never heard of that, but I'm not against like any type of moisturizer for the scar tissue. The yoni steam will help too. But yeah, I'm all for the castor oil, because you can also that's another healing modality too. When it comes to fibroids and different things, you can make a castor oil pack and put it over your wound.
Sis, I have to bring you back. Let me tell you why. There's so many things in here. I mean, you're talking about recipes. You're talking about sexual intercourse. You're talking about infertility. All of these are things that we never really talk about. Rebirthing, childbirth, because you're a doula as well. Postpartum, breastfeeding, the benefits of breastfeeding. Just so many things in here. And I'm just kind of doing the skim through. And then also you have this womb words of wisdom, and which I mean, it's just not enough time to go over all this stuff. But I feel like we need to have more conversations about the womb. And this is one of a series, family. So y'all need to go to this sister's website, okay? And it's thecraftwoman.com. to order her books, but also on her website is just so many. Let me see if I can get this up. There's so many different things that she has on there. Her website is incredible. I personally really love your website. I spent a long time on your website. I'm going to try to pull it up really quick if I can here. This is the sister's website. I hope y'all can see that. Her website is great. There's the website. Please go to it. She has everything in this website pertaining to womb wellness. And that's something we don't really discuss a lot, that we should discuss more of. Go to this sister's website and support her work, because we know that a lot of the issues that we're having, and there she is around us in the womb. So she has everything in here, family. Everything in here. She's a doula. She's an author. And she has all of these different videos on here. You got to go check her stuff out. So, sister, thank you so much for joining me today. It's just, your work is incredible. And we need to hear more of your voice. Okay, hold on. I have some questions. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get to this thing. Oh, thank you, Nolise. Put it in the chat. Yes, in the chat. I'll put it in there again. And there it is. I just put it into the chat again. Yes, uploading now. I just put it into the chat. Please reach out to the sister. Sis, I'm gonna wind this down because I have a certain time frame, but don't hang up. Okay, don't get off yet. Let me just close this out. Thank you so much. Do you have any closing words or wisdom you would like to give us for this session?
Like you said, go ahead and get the book. You can go to my website, craftswoman.com, or Amazon. You can also subscribe to my YouTube page, The Craftswoman. Follow me on Instagram at Craftswoman. You can subscribe to my email list by just going to the website. So I just would like for us, all women, specifically Black women, to continue to repair themselves, even if those who had the perfect life or whatever, continue to be better, because we are, the teachers. We're extremely important in this world, and continue to do the work that we're supposed to do while we have this time on earth.
Right on. Okay, family. So hold on. I'm gonna close this out. I'll see y'all next week. Peace and blessings. Okay, hold on. Let me see. Share.